Welcome to the Money Script Podcast. I'm your host, Yohance Harrison. So happy to be with each and every one of you today. Thanks for joining us. And for those of you that happen to be joining us on YouTube, wow, we did it. So yeah, we're live. We're in the studio. Well, I mean, when you're watching it, it's not live. Well, you're live. So anyways, you get what I mean. You can see us now. This is what I look like in real life. So all of our dozens, hundreds of dozens of listeners out there in the podcast world, you can now find us on the Money Script podcast on YouTube. So come check us out. See, I'm so excited. I can't even speak. Oh man, it has been a tremendous week. For those of you that are catching up now, let's say, I guess this is probably around the 1st of August, if you're hearing this for the first time, or whenever it is when you listen to it. But just to catch you up on where we are, it has been, of course, a hot summer. I won't spend much time talking about the weather, but it has been an amazing summer when it comes to economics. We just had our second quarter of negative GDP. So the numbers are out. It's official that we've had 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP. Now, I want to read something to you all that I was reading in the Wall Street Journal this morning. And it states that the official arbiter of recessions in the U.S. is the National Bureau of Economic Research, so NBER. And they define a recession as one as a significant decline in economic activity spread across the economy for more than a few months. So what does that mean? That means they haven't said we're officially in a recession, whatever that means. But as long as I've been in this business, a recession was defined by 2 quarters of negative GDP. At least that's how they've defined recessions for almost 100 years, by 2 quarters in negative GDP. So, I mean, maybe it's a recession, maybe it's not. But for some of you, it's a recession in your own house. Okay, you've had to start cutting back on some expenses because of the cost, the inflation and cost of food and cost of gas have gone up. We have had a little bit of reprieve in gas prices, but food prices still remain high. Service prices have gone up. A lot of you have asked your bosses for raises because like, I just can't keep up. A lot of government entities are giving out lots of raises. I know teachers and other people that are in work for state and local municipalities have received raises, just trying to keep up with this increase of cost of living. And remember, inflation just happens because there's a lot of demand and not a lot of supply. So the hope was that a lot of the supply stuff would kind of work itself out as the pandemic went away, but it seems like it hasn't yet. So again, you all let me know, is it a recession in your household? Are you experiencing recession? It doesn't really matter what the economists say and what's happening globally. What matters is what's happening at your own address. So again, Yohance Harrison, financial planner, been at this for 22 years. This is my 4th recession, if it's a recession, my 4th recession. If you can name that album, I got a special treat for you. It's actually an interlude, but I think our guest knows it today. So without any further ado, let's get to our guest. We're actually going to have a lot of conversations today about this whole inflation and rising cost of food. I have the amazing, the talented Candy Lawrie here with me today. Candy, how are you? Welcome to the Money Script Podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I'm actually doing pretty well, despite this recession that may or may not be happening.
So what do you think, Candy? Do you think we're in a recession?
You know what? By definition, what you said, yes. But by my lifestyle and the wonderful changes and progressions that have been happening, I'd say no.
Oh, so what I'm hearing you say is that at your address, there's an expansion happening.
There has been so much change since we last spoke. I'm like busting at the seams. I can't wait to share.
Oh, now
and by the way, that was Biggie's Ready to Die, if I'm not mistaken. This is my 4th album.
My 4th album, yo. Yes. No, it wasn't Ready to Die. It was actually Life After Death.
After Death. Okay.
Yes. And that was right before Kicking the Door.
There we go. There we go.
This is my 4th album, yo. My
exactly. 4th. The Mad Rapper.
You're coming. It is the Mad Rapper. So I've now taken the persona on Twitter as the Mad Advisor. So instead of what is it? The John Blaze, I've been tweeting. I got Jay Powell. Jay Powell ain't got nothing on me. So those that know the reference. So yes, I'm now the mad advisor, and apparently I'm very mad. so Candy, the reason I invited you on the show is because we were having a conversation. You actually called me up and said, "Hey, I'd like to have an initial consultation." No, you won the consultation. You did you won it. You won the consultation.
Yes.
And I said, I'm happy to sit down with you. And you said something to me that just absolutely blew my mind. Actually, it was two things that you said that blew my mind. One, you said that you are a vegan. And I said, okay, shout out to you. Hats off. I was born and raised a vegan. Well, between veganism and vegetarianism, we kind of bounced around every now and then. Sometimes there were eggs in our house. Sometimes there wasn't. Sometimes it was Haagen-Dazs ice cream. Sometimes it was soy ice cream. And to all the vegetarians and vegans out there right now, y'all got it so simple. Man, in the 80s, do you know how hard it was to be a vegetarian? Do you know how it was to be a child to be a vegetarian? Do you know what it's like to bring a tofu sandwich to school on bread that is the color of my skin? Okay. Because it was that, the Ezekiel bread. See, she knows I'm talking about, that Ezekiel bread. Hey, I would have bean sprouts on it. You can't put bean sprouts on a fifth grader sandwich.
Just popping out of the place. Yeah.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. However, today y'all got a Whole Foods on every corner. You can have vegetarian, vegan meals delivered right to your house, and you have what are the companies? Impossible and Beyond, and you have food that actually tastes good. Now, I will say that my parents would love to bring people over and put hot dogs on the grill that were really just tofu or soy hot dogs, and people would gobble them up, and it'd say, "I thought y'all were vegetarian." We are. Oh, but you eat hot dogs. We do. And we just kind of let them run with it, and then show them the package afterwards. And like, I can't believe you made me eat that. I didn't make you eat anything. You put ketchup, mustard, and you ate it. So anywho, so that was number one. You see how I get off on tangents sometimes. So number one, you said that you're a vegan. Number two, you stated that you were living on $50 a week in food. And that blew my, I said 50. And you also were describing to me that you eat good. So I would like you, can you, I know you said there've been some expansion developed, but can you kind of take us back to and just share with us how in the great city of New York, you were able to manage on $50 a week?
So, backstory to why I even created that food budget. I was planning a trip to Morocco. My dear friend was getting married, and I needed to be able to go. It was essential that I be a part of it. She's been an integral part of my last 4 or 5 years as far as motivation and just being a good friend. So I owed it to myself and to her to be there. However, I had to do it. And part of it was cutting back on fast food and, splurging on fancy food. So that was the first thing I cut. I thought you were going to mention my income, which was, I think, more of a shock to you. It was that I was surviving on $40K in New York City. So
yeah, that too. I wasn't going to put your income on blast.
Okay. Well,
but thank you. Now that you've shared it, we'll talk about that too. Okay.
Right. Well, that's not my income anymore. I can't wait to explain why.
Oh, okay. Moving on up.
Yes. So I had to figure out where to cut costs. And I didn't eat out at a lot of restaurants. As we spoke, I did my own hair and nails and did a lot of things to cut costs in general. And then that next level was just like really food planning and like people financial plan or, plan for anything else. I put myself on a food budget. So I ordered my groceries off of Amazon, which a lot of people, it sounds like it might be expensive and it really isn't. And I just budgeted. I bought, the least expensive, cleanest non-meats, and I planned my food out and I took food to work and I snacked light and really just was intentional about not going beyond that so that I can afford the trip.
Now for those, again, YouTube, welcome to the journey here. She looks healthy to me. Okay.
Healthy. And to be fair, I want to say plant-based because I don't want somebody seeing me out here with a piece of bread and then be like, that was made with egg. Or if y'all catch me at a party and I might have a piece of cake, don't, you know what I mean? I have a
Don't knock it out
plant-based
your hand. Like,
lifestyle.
you can't
Yeah,
eat
mind
that.
your business. If you see me on vacation with some, you know, vacation, everything is off limit.
Hey,
Everything. But yeah, my normal lifestyle, like I won't buy it and prepare it for myself. So to be clear, that's what I mean by plant-based
got
clean
it.
eating.
Got it.
Yes.
Plant-based clean eating. But okay,
Yeah.
so talk to us about, because I think that's what a lot of the clients and individuals I speak to, what they struggle with the most is the meal prepping and meal planning. So can you take us through like a typical week of what your meal prepping and planning look like?
Sure. So I'm actually planning it now with a little bit more, 75 a week. But
Oh,
basically,
that's a
listen,
man
I was so excited
60% increase. Wow. Man.
when I decided to do it again. It was for the same reason, just to save and just to challenge myself and commit to something. But really, what it looked like was maybe a large shake and fruit with breakfast. I would juice a week out, so I would buy a whole stalk of celery, 4 cucumber, a bag of apples, which is about 6 apples, uh, a large piece of ginger, and I would juice that, and that would last me about 3 or 4 days. So once or twice a day for 3 or 4 days, I would have juice, and then obviously a lot of water. I was drinking about 100 ounces of water at that time, so that takes up a lot of space as well. But also like cooking in bulk. So if I would buy, if I would prepare quinoa, I would prepare enough for 5 or 6 days and mix it up so where it's not my dinner every day. So maybe it would be lunch in a wrap one day, and maybe it would be dinner on the side with some kale one day. But a lot of it is really fresh eating, where people think that is expensive, but if you buy it in a large amount and prepare it out, it really does ration out well. So that wasn't specific, but generally that's how it would be. And I would mix it up. I have all sorts of spices now. One day that kale is going to taste like steak. The next day is going to taste like a taco. But it's just about really being creative, YouTubing a lot of recipes and not necessarily sticking to them, but getting ideas from different cultures and how they season their food, just so you're not bored. I'm not having a salad every day, not a plain salad every day. There's definitely something different on top. One day it's roasted zucchini. The next day it may be mushrooms. The next day it's, cucumber, like a cucumber and tomato topping. But really taking really basic ingredients and then mixing them up so that I'm not bored.
Beautiful. So the main thing that I heard there from you in the overarching theme of how to make this possible is that you had a goal
Mm-hmm.
that was greater than the goal of dining out.
Yeah, I'm also not a diner. Because of my income at the time, or because of just maybe even a level of social angst, I don't like going out. I like home cooked. I like trying stuff and being happy with it. And, like that is an event for people going out. Like hiking is an event for me. It's a free thing. You know what I mean? And it's also fulfilling in more ways than kind of like sitting over food and being full. It's not a thing that is something I'm excited about.
Okay. Got it. And then I heard you share about the planning, keeping it exciting, keeping it fresh, keeping it new. So doing some research, going to YouTube. At this point, YouTube, just send me a check. I mean,
yeah, right. Just send them the check.
Man, geez. But having different spices. You said one day your food was seasoned as steak, and then a few days later, the same item was seasoned as a taco. So just being creative and not getting trapped inside of a box, so to speak, so that you get bored with things. And that is, Candy, that is beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing it. And I know that a lot of you listeners, viewers, I get to say that now, have questions about this, and it's something that you struggle with. Because Candy, I'm going to tell you, typically I find on the low end for clients, and we work with over a couple hundred clients. I've been doing this for almost over 2 decades. So I've worked with thousands of different families, and, inflation adjusted over the last 2 decades, I would say the average person on the low end is easily spending $300 a month per person on food in their household. And that's on the low end.
Yeah.
Okay. On the high end, I've got some that are spending 1,000.
Yikes.
Okay. Per person.
Yeah.
And again, sometimes those folks in that upper echelon, their reason, actually, let's just keep it real. Their excuse is, oh, I'm eating plant-based, or I eat healthy, or I eat organic. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, okay, but there's still there's got to be a better way. So I often question those individuals, even if we're just looking at their grocery budget.
Yeah.
I challenge them on, how much are you wasting?
Right.
How
That
much
part.
of your food goes to waste? And when I've challenged some clients on that, they find out, like, wow, we're actually throwing away half of the food that we eat. And I said, well, I mean, excuse me, half the food we don't eat. And I was like, well, what would it look like if at the beginning of the month, I just took $300 and just threw it in the trash, or actually not the trash, because then you can retrieve it, threw it down the garbage disposer with a bunch of bleach.
Right.
You wouldn't do that, but yet, metaphorically speaking, that's what you're doing
Yeah.
when you're not eating all the food that you purchase. And then the other part, which you mentioned, Candy, was seeking joy from things other than getting full in front of each other, especially out when you're out, because when
Oh,
you
yeah.
dine out, listen, folks, you're paying 3 to 5 times per calorie when you dine out versus when you dine in. 3 to 5 times more.
More. Wow.
Okay. So I encourage you, as you're thinking about your own inflation, your budget, your own recession, I encourage you to really consider looking at your dining out to cooking budget. And maybe one of the things, I know this is what we did in our family, and and again, I'm human, very human.
Same.
Alicia's very human as well. You're human too, Candy? Okay, that's
Yeah.
good. So amongst humans, we go through our phases. Alicia and I will go through those phases where all of a sudden we look up and we ate out 4, 5, 6 times in 1 week. Okay.
Mm.
And we have to pull the reins in and say, wait a minute, this is not what we're about. That a lot of money is going to these restaurants. And so sometimes what we'll have to do, and not sometimes, when we find that happening, we just have to put our foot down and say, we're not going to eat out until Friday. Okay. We got to save it till Friday. So either A, we go hungry, or B, we decide to take the time to prep some food.
Prep some food.
Just prep some food.
One thing I did, I had to deactivate my Uber account because
Mm.
weak hours, 2 a.m. I mean, I have trouble sleeping. So if I'm up and I'm working, I'm like, I deserve a quick bean burrito, whatever from wherever. No, I looked at that 1 month worth of those 2 nights, and it's like $80, $100, maybe, even more. So that was another push. When I can just buy it and make it myself in bulk, like I'm thinking Cobb salad. Somebody was saying something about a Chick-fil-A Cobb salad, which I've actually only had Chick-fil-A once in my life. It was hash browns. It was greasy. I don't know the allure. Maybe I'm missing out because of the chicken, but salad's like $12. I can make 5
12
salads.
salads.
Yeah, no, literally. I make a big bowl of salad. And if you are intentional and have different dressings and different toppings, you're having a different salad until that bowl of salad is gone. So
Indeed.
intention.
So tell me, let's transition here. Well, tell me about the big changes. What happened?
So you and I had a consultation, and I mentioned, you said I was doing everything right, everything to save and this. You said something very specific. Well, you said 2 things, like 2 things stuck with you, 2 things stuck with me. You said you are worth more than 40K. And when I tell you, I took that to heart, and in such a good way. You said you're worth more than 40K, and you need to bring in more income. You're saving all you can. You need to bring in more income. So in June, I started an LLC, my very first business.
Okay.
It's called the CL
Insert
Suite. Yes.
Insert applause here.
Right.
Okay.
So I provide administrative services to startup companies, nonprofits, personal businesses. I've been doing that per diem for about 20 years. alongside of me doing handiwork. And we talked about that and how much money I made of that, but also me having to transition from using my brawn and using my brain more. So you said something's going to come. You're like, something's going to come. Something's going to pop up. You need to use those talents. These are the things I'm telling you exactly what you told me. You need to use these things. So all these people that I help around me with these administrative duties have also inspired me and pushed me in the direction of just starting my own LLC and reaping the benefits of having a business and the write-offs. And we were you were like, this photo, I can write this off because this is in my office, this chair. And I was like, So with that inspiration, and like I said, a bunch of other people around me, I started my business, and I have 2 one-year contracts currently, and I'm working on a third one. Yes. So no 40K income because I'm worth more than 40K. And I'm proud to say that because I've been able to manage and survive, and I don't want to survive anymore. I want to thrive. So I pushed myself, and I'm in that place now. So that was the thing.
That is so beautiful. I am so excited for you, Candy. That is amazing. So I got to pause right here, Candy. If people are looking for your services, how do they find you?
So right now you can email me directly at Candice Lawrie, CANDICE, Lawrie, LAWRIE @gmail. And I can send you my brochure from Honeybook, and we would communicate that way.
We will put all of her information in the show notes. If you are looking for those services, Candy is a highly intelligent, very skillful. And if she can find a way to eat on $40 a week, I'm confident she can help you manage your administrative task of your business. I'm confident of it. Now, I haven't used the services, but I
also do that full time for a nonprofit organization based out of New York City. So it's what I do. It's what I do. Scheduling, emails, proofreading, ghostwriting, content creating, things of that nature. Yeah, it's something that I've just been doing and not under my own name. So now here we go.
Beautiful, beautiful. So we ask this question to all of our guests, and I'd like to ask you this. And this is just as the money script. I believe that we all have these internal scripts or these ideas or strategies around how we view money. And I believe in psychologists, not just me, as a psychologist will agree that we are impressed upon at a very early age to develop a relationship with money, good, bad, or indifferent. So I'm curious, and as I said, we asked this from all of our guests, what is your first memory of money?
Okay. My first memory of money. The thing that really flashed into my head, and maybe you're not thinking along these lines, but I just remember saving money in my pillowcase. Maybe being 5 years old and, knowing that I wanted to go to the store, but not immediately. So if I got $1, I put it in my pillowcase, and I would wait till I had about $3 and then be like balling out of control. But yeah, that's the first thing that comes into my mind. Something a little more, what's the word? A little more developed. I just remember conversations, like overhearing conversations, because I think we come from that era where our parents didn't include us in things.
Yes.
So
yes.
You kind of see this plan. I remember my dad planning for our vacations and me not getting the coolest, newest stuff because it was like, no, you're going to California. That's cool, new, and fun. So I remember there being a level of budgeting because we wanted to travel or prioritize travel. So that's a deeper memory of money for me.
So how do you think that the stashing in the pillowcase at an early age, how do you think that affects the relationship you have with money today?
How would I connect those two things? Well, one, I feel like I'm on an upswing. I've worked really hard. I've had jobs that paid well, careers that paid well that I can't do anymore. And I always feel like I'm in kind of like entry positions. And at this point, I'm trying to take the power of like feeling like I'm in a deficit or a beginning point and manage it in a way where you need my services. So I'm going to tell you what I'm worth as opposed to you telling me. And I don't know how that correlates to the pillow, but I know in the past couple of years, I've been transitioning how I feel about asking for my worth.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
are you still saving money in your pillowcase?
Not in my pillowcase. No, I have a couple of savings accounts. And you told me to open a savings account and don't have a card and don't use. I've been literally the things we spoke about. My credit score, just so many things. You'd be so proud. I couldn't wait to tell you these things. Yeah, I've been doing the small steps to build, and I, didn't pay attention to my credit for a little while. And then I looked at it and I was like, oh my goodness, here it is. Here are the little steps, besides just penny pinching that can help grow your money. So I'm learning from a lot of people around me. I like to be around people that are doing the things that I want to do or want to learn how to do and just learn from them, as opposed to being with people that are kind of on your same level. So it's definitely been a benefit to aspire and be around people that are inspiring. Yeah.
Just hanging out with millionaires won't necessarily make you a millionaire, but it'll be really hard for you to continue to hang around them and not at least get to be 100,000-aire.
Yeah. Taking pointers, taking notes, listening.
Well, because they want you in the club, especially
Yeah.
if you have all the criteria that they think of
Yeah.
a genuine person. They want you in the club,
Yeah.
and they're going to look for ways for you to be in the club, and they'll just tell you like, oh well, you get to do this, this, and this. Oh, okay,
And show you
Mhm.
how, because
Mhm.
they don't lose from teaching you how to win. And I'm
No,
around those type of people daily, and it's like it's a refreshing thing. It's exciting because I'm on my way and I feel it. So
you are on your way, Candy. You are on your way, and I am. And shout out to you for taking that complimentary consultation that we did, where I gave you some tips, just some basic stuff. We didn't talk about stocks. We didn't
no,
talk about
very basic,
IRAs, and
very
no, we
basic.
just had some very basic things, and you did them. You're doing them,
Yeah,
and you're seeing the fruits of your labor. I am so excited for you,
yeah.
Candy. So
Thank
excited
you.
for you.
Thank
So
you.
I'm gonna share this with you and to all of our listeners out there. If you haven't heard, I want to make sure that everyone knows. And for those who've heard it already, you can skip this part, but only if you already took advantage. The federal government offers bonds to citizens, and there's a specific type of bond that's being offered that has a astronomically high interest rate, and you may want to consider looking at it. It's called an iBond. So the I in iBond stands for inflation. So you go directly to United States Treasury and you can make a purchase of these iBonds. Now, first of all, it's about what is a bond. So a bond is when you're loaning money to a government, a municipality, or a corporation, and they promise to pay you your principal back and some interest along with it. So right now for the iBonds, they are offering a 9.62% rate of return. Now, again, I think I mentioned this in the last podcast. I'm just bringing it up again in case you haven't taken advantage of it yet. But this is only until October of 2022. So you have to make your purchase prior to October of 2022, and you can get a 9.62% rate of return on the money that you loan to the U.S. government. Now, there are some risk to this. Number one, the government has to stay in business in order for you to get your money back. Okay, so far so good. Our government's managed to stay in business and return principal to its bondholders. Number two is you're going to have to give up some time. So the bonds credit their interest every 6 months, and you only can pull your money out when that interest is credited. So if you put the money in, you can't go back to the government and say, "Oh, just kidding. I need to use that to make a late night Grubhub order." Nope, can't do that. Okay. It has to stay there for 6 months, and then the interest is credited and you can choose to take the money out. Number three is that if you take the money out and you haven't held the bond for at least 5 years, the government's going to take 3 months of interest back. Okay. Now, that 9.62% is quoted as an APR, annual percentage rate. Okay. That's what they would give you if you received that 9.62% for an entire year. But because it credits every 6 months, you're only going to get half that interest for the first 6 months. Okay. So let's imagine you purchase a bond on, we'll do July 1st. Okay. Let's just do the math together. July, August, September, October, November, December. That'd be the end of the 6 months. So January 1st is when you would get your interest payment, half of 9.62% of whatever you had. And you could take the money out. But if you said, oh, no, but if you said, I want to take the money out, then you're only going to get 3 months of interest instead of the full 6. Okay. Now, whatever interest is credited, you can compound the interest if you let it keep rolling, but we don't know what the rates are going to be in the future. We only know what the rate is now, and the rates change every 6 months. Okay. So the new rate will be announced in October. And so if you purchase it now, you'll get the 9.62 for 6 months. But when that October rate is announced, when yours matures, you'll get that new rate in October that was announced in October, and on and on and on. We'll put some links in the show notes of how you can go and learn more about the iBonds, and you can invest as little as $50. Okay. I don't know about you guys, but none of the banks that I do business with are paying 9.62% on $50. Hell, they're not even paying 1% on $50. Okay. Most of them, there are some banks out there, the Allies, the Goldman Sachs of the world, and American Express, and some of those, they are starting to increase their rates a little bit. They're approaching 1.25%, 1.5%, but it usually has a limit on how much money that they're going to let you do. And speaking of limits, I mentioned the minimum is $50. I think it might be $25, minimum small. The maximum, though, I'm confident of, is $10,000 per person. Okay. They will allow you to go above $10,000, but that's only, you can do an initial $5,000, but only if it's your tax refund. So you get a tax refund, you say, hey, instead of sending me the cash, I want to purchase an iBond. They'll allow you to get an extra $5,000. So if you aren't familiar with the iBond, I encourage you to get familiar with it, and, to have a conversation with yourself, have a money date with yourself or with your significant other, and determine, hey, is this a place where you could potentially get a little bit better rate of return on the money that you stashed away. Okay, so I encourage you all to go take a look at that. And Candy, you may want to look at some of the money that you stashed away and say, okay, maybe I could part ways with this money for 6 months and maybe longer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. iBond.
Well, Candy, look, thank you so much for having this wonderful conversation with me. I hope that all of our listeners, viewers, I hope that everyone learns some good tools and tips on how you can reduce your living expenses when it comes to food, because we all got to eat. Let's just be honest. We do. We all got to eat. That's just part of staying alive. But we don't always have to spend as much as we do on the food. We have to get creative. We have to challenge ourselves. We have to be willing to learn. We have to be willing to plan. And above all else, there has to be something more important than that fast food meal, that Grubhub meal, that restaurant meal that you're paying 3 to 5 times more per calorie for. Okay. So, and I'm happy if you want to get some more tips on this, feel free, reach out to me. Who knows? Maybe Candy might even start another business, teaching people how they can, live on less when it comes to food, because she's got it down packed. She figured it out. I mean, and I just love giving Candy different ideas of how she can make more money. So
listen, computing.
Okay. So Candy, again, her information is going to be in the show notes if you want to reach out to her and learn more about her services. Of course, please share this message with a friend. Give us a review. Our reviews are doing really well on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts. Thank you very much for all of those 5-star reviews. You guys are loving this information, so we're going to keep bringing it to you. I told you I was bringing the heat this summer, and Mother Nature brought it too, because it's another hot one. So until next time, thank you for joining us on the Money Script Podcast. Yohance Harrison here, Money Script Wealth Management. If you want to get a complimentary consultation, just let me know. I'm happy to sit down with you and show you how you can make better decisions with your money. Until next time.